Hello, my name is Soderqvist. I'm working as a sales engineer at Sophos. We at Sophos has been working with IT security for more than 30 years. And we have a wide range of different security solutions, stretching from endpoint security products like traditional endpoint protection, server protection, mobile device management, encryption, and to the network security side like firewalls, wireless solutions, email and web gateways. However, as threats has become more and more sophisticated, we as a security company also need to evolve. So synchronized security is a way for us to integrate different security solutions. I will do a few examples during this day and show you a demo on how this actually works in a live environment. So if we look at the endpoint security solution, our antivirus solution, we have a lot of different security layers protecting the client, like malicious traffic detection, behavior analysis, CryptoGuard, memory scanning, and so on. However, on the network security side, we also have a lot of security layers protecting the network, like IPS, web protection, email filtering, and so on. So synchronized security is really a way to integrate the endpoint security solution to the firewall, so that they can start to share information and react. If there's a threat discovered, for example, on the endpoint, the firewall can immediately be notified that there's something fishy and lock down the computer, ensuring that the malware can't spread or that the client can't connect to a command and control server. Usually, when a bad guy wants to infect a client, they basically have three different options to go with. Either they can leave Sophos security solution alone, which would then be discovered by our endpoint protection. The other option that they can use is to disable the Sophos security on the client, but that would also mean that we would change the status of that client to a red status and then immediately inform the firewall, locking down the computer so that it can't communicate to any other clients in the network, and so that it can't reach out to any command and control servers. Or they can also try to disable the heartbeat, the channel that connects the endpoint solution to the firewall, but that would also mean that the firewall would then discover that there's no heartbeat signal and lock down the client. So in the demo that I will do, I will show you how the firewall, the endpoint protection, and the encryption solution actually works together to give you even better protection. A common method that the bad guys use is something called lateral movement. They basically try to infect the client in the network to be able to go to the places in the network like servers where there's more valuable information. With the heartbeat or the synchronized security, we can then see if a client has some communication from the client to, for example, the server. And if we start to see that this communication pattern is suspicious on the firewall side, we can then also lock down the client, ensuring that the client no longer has access to the servers, and also that the client cannot access any other clients on the network. I will do a demonstration of how the synchronized security actually works. So I have a client that I'm going to perform an attack against to show you how the synchronized security can be used to lock down the computer, securing all the files, securing the network communication, and so on. So on this client, I have the endpoint protection installed. And you can see that it's currently broadcasting that it has a green healthy status. And you can see the same information here on the firewall as well. I also have the encryption solution installed on this client. So if I go in and look at the keyring, you can see that this is my current keyring that is used to encrypt the files on this client. So the user doesn't really notice this. They just open up their files, work with them as they normally would, create new files or edit them, but we're then taking care of the encryption process in the background. So we're doing something called application-aware encryption, which means that we have selected in my demo here that Microsoft Word is allowed to open this particular file or gain access to the encryption key. I also have, since I'm behind the firewall, and currently is broadcasting a green status, you can also see that I have currently internet access. But to simulate an attack against this client, I will open up my Outlook, and here I've received an email, and this is traditionally how a ransomware attack would go about. You would receive an email that contains a macro, the user gets fooled into opening this file and enable the content to basically perform the ransomware attack against this client. So I'm just going to open up this document that I received. The user then gets fooled into activate content, and this would then start the encryption process. But I want to do this a bit more visually so you can actually see what happened. So I'm going to run the macro manually. So this will then start up our tool called Sophos tester that I can use to perform an attack against this client. So first of all, I can select which application I want to perform the attack through. So I'm going to select Firefox, and then I can select which type of attack would I like to perform. I'm going to select the ransomware, and then which type of ransomware would I like to perform. So I'm going to select the HydroCrypt. So I've selected that I only want to perform this attack against one specific target folder, which is my document folder that you can see over here. So once I click on execute, the attack will start. And it will start up Firefox, and then you will start to see a lot of things happening down here. So you can first of all see that Sophos endpoint protection has reacted, and we've started the Sophos clean process to ensure that we're cleaning up any traces of the ransomware on this client. You can also see now that Safeguard has secured the files on this client, ensuring that all the files that are stored on this client that are encrypted cannot be accessed. So if this would be a data stealing malware, it wouldn't gain access to any information on this client. You can also now see that the status of the protection has switched to red status, and you can also see this on the firewall side. So if I go back now to the control center, you can see that I currently have one client that is at risk, meaning that we've also from the firewall locked down all communication. So if the client now tries to browse the web, they will not be able to. So they will basically just get prompted with this message saying that you don't fulfill the requirements to be able to browse the web because you have a red status. If I go into the Sophos Central dashboard and click on alerts, you will also see the alert over here. And as this was just a simulated attack, I can mark this as resolved. And within a few seconds, the client will receive the information that the alert was cleared by the admin. And so now you see that the protection has gone back to green status. And if I now try to go to any web pages, I will be allowed to browse the web again. You can also see that Safeguard is now, the encryption solution is now getting back its encryption keys. You can now also see that Safeguard is fetching its encryption keys again so that we can continue on working with our documents, and the user will be asked to authenticate. But if you would like to have more information on what actually happened during this particular attack, we can go back to the Sophos Central and click on the endpoint protection, and here we have something called root cause analysis. And here we can see the latest alert, and if I click on this one, you can get some information on what actually happened during this particular attack, like for example an overview where you can add an activity record. You can go into the artifacts tab to see which files were involved or targeted during this particular attack. You can see which processes were run during this attack, if there were any network connections established. And with the help of the visualization, you can also follow exactly what happened during the attack. So here we can see Outlook, for example, that actually opened up this document that I had the macro in. That was read by Winward, and then Winward actually launched the Sophos tester tool. And Sophos tester then performed the attack through Firefox, if you remember how I created the attack. So this gives you a step-by-step seeing what was the root cause of this problem. So here we can easily see that this was an email that came in. And then we can also use this to actually strengthen our protection. Maybe we can do something on the spam side, blocking files with macros from getting into the organization and so on. So to summarize, as threats are becoming more and more sophisticated, Synchronized security is really designed to integrate the protection layers of the endpoint protection, the firewall and the encryption solution, getting them to work together to give organizations the best possible protection. Thank you very much.